Hello and welcome to Trevor and Friends. It's a beautiful Tuesday right here in Greenwich, Connecticut. I am Trevor Crow, your host. With me is Julina Ogilvie. She's a CIMA, CPA, CPWA, CEPA. Oh my gosh, all these letters after your name, my dear. Partner with a Wealth Advisor, and she's with Principal Wealth Partners. And I have to say hello, welcome. I'm delighted to have you here.
Hi, Trevor. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
We have a really important topic and it spans a lifetime. And Julina and I are going to do 3 shows. This is an actual series. It's going to be about being fit financially in different spots, well, different age spaces of your life, really. So today we're going to start 20s to 40s. Next month it'll be 40s to 60s, and the month after that will be 60s and way beyond, because we're all going to live to 110, right?
Exactly. We're going to span it all.
So let's jump in, because I have young adults in my household. Actually, they're out now, they're launched. But what do you tell young people who are just getting going, who have their first jobs, they're out of college, some of them have debt? You know, what are you telling them to do? What's like your first number one suggestion that these young people do?
I love this question. Mine are not launched yet, so this is especially near and dear to my heart. I would say I have a list, but I'm going to prioritize maybe just a few items first. If you are entering the workforce and you have not yet established a budget, this would be the time to do so. And there's a simple framework that, generally speaking, would be a good way to start. So once you know what your income is, your gross income after taxes, you want to be able to evaluate how you are spending that income, and you're going to break it into 3 buckets. And the framework is 50, 30, and 20.
50, 30, 20.
50, 30, 20. 50% is what you're spending on your needs. Whether you're renting, you're driving a car, you're eating, you're paying for gas. 50% of what you're bringing in, you want to spend towards your needs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 30% will go towards your wants. And unfortunately, too many individuals, when they go through this process, spend more than 30% on their wants. As I joked with my daughter going to school today, we are not having Starbucks every morning on the way to school. That is a want, not a need. But we all want to go to the movie theater and get our hair cut, etc. And so the 30% is the want.
Good.
The last one, which is the hardest, the 20%, is the savings. And we want to encourage individuals to start saving right away.
Good.
And we want to form the habit early and often. And even if you have debt that you're paying off, you know, let's say, for example, with college, maybe that goes towards the savings. But you need to focus on that 20%. That is critical. Once you have that really quickly, I would say you want to establish an emergency fund.
Oh,
You don't want to derail your 50, 30, and 20. And so the typical rule of thumb is whatever your expenses are on a monthly basis, you want 3 to 6 months in reserve in a cash account, maybe a high yield savings account. If your car breaks down, if you lose a job, right, you want to have something to lean on. And unfortunately, as a financial advisor, even in Fairfield County, you do see individuals in their retirement years that don't have enough in emergency savings. And I think that's critical to establish early. And then I think the last thing would say, if you're working, if you're in the workforce, you need to determine what your employer benefits are. Not just the insurance benefits, but also, do you have a retirement plan? Is it, maybe it's a 401k? Is that employer matching in that plan? And if so, that's free money. You want to make sure that you're earning that match that's going into the plan.
So important, so important. So anybody tuning in, this is Trevor Crow, Trevor and Friends. I'm with Julina Ogilvie. She is a expert in financial planning. We're talking about different phases of life, and right now we're talking about 20s to 40s. What do young adults need to do and start thinking about the minute they launch and they're out on their own? And I love this 50, 30, 20. 50 being needs, 30 being wants, and 20 being savings.
Yes.
And then this other piece, which is have an emergency fund, right?
And once you have that, then you can start planning, right? And I think that what a lot of individuals in their 20s don't quite understand is that investing and saving for your future is not linear. It's not focusing on maybe marriage first and then a home and then children. You need to start thinking about retirement right away.
Wow.
It's a multifaceted process, and I think that that how you allocate to each of your goals is one of the frustrations that we all have.
I think that's so important. Anybody who knows the show, that part of what I love, of course, love talking about politics, but I also love talking about relationships. And frankly, all of us have very interesting relationships with money. Some of us spend too much, some of us save too much, some of us really haven't made a retirement plan or really thought about this until much later in life.
Yeah.
So what Julina is saying to all of us are help our young adults, teach them right off the bat to start thinking about planning for retirement, and really teach them a secure relationship with money, not avoidant where I don't want to look at my bills, not anxious where I'm like looking at my net worth every day. I actually had a client who had it up on his computer every single day. He could see what he was worth. I don't think that's healthy. But right, so this is a really important piece of helping young people get start moving forward. So you're saying it's not the house, it's not marriage. Start thinking about retirement right away.
Absolutely. My daughter's 16. She just got a job, and we opened a Roth IRA for her. Now,
Wow.
she's not putting a lot in, but we are creating the habit very early. And if I can throw some numbers out, Trevor, I don't know if this might help. But we're going to talk generally speaking. If you decide at the age of 25 that you want to start saving, and you put $500 a month away for 40 years, so from age 25 to age 65 when you retire, and let's assume the market returns a nice, pretty straight line of 7%, which unfortunately is not the case, but that's an average rate.
That, yeah.
That $500 a month until age 65 results in $1.2 million, right? Now, I don't know how far $1.2 million in retirement gets us in Fairfield County. It maybe depends on how much we spend.
It's still real money.
But it's real money, right?
It's still real money.
If you decide, no, I really need to focus on the marriage and the house and the kids, and I'm not going to start saving until 35. So now you've waited 10 years, 60,000 less in what you've put in to that monthly income. You don't earn $1.2 million at age 65. It's $565,000. It's less than half.
Wow.
That is how critical it is to starting early. And that's because the power of compounding is so important.
And I don't think most of us teach our kids about this and get them really set up sort of thoughtfully. Now, I just found out that you wrote a book.
I did.
For girls. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I just love hearing this, and I think it's a very important topic for all of us women out there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I actually published a book last year. It's up on my Amazon or on my website, Money Confident Girls, A Parent's Roadmap to Raising Financially Confident Children. There's a lot in the title there. So it actually is earmarked towards parents, maybe grandparents, that want to help set their children up for a more confident financial future. And honestly, it's a lot of lessons of what individuals shared with me through the pandemic. And you hit it right on the head. We are so emotional when it comes to money, and a lot of that occurs when we're very young.
Yes,
and so it's really important that we embrace it early on. And I'm thrilled that Connecticut is finally mandating finance in high school.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
That's
fantastic.
Last year, I think. Yeah, my daughter just took the course last year, so we're moving in the right direction.
That's great news. We also have the new baby bonds, which are getting started, I believe, this year, which is really thrilling.
Yeah.
But so there's more to be. How do you ask kids to start thinking about their goals beyond? Okay, so if they get into that $500 a month savings, which is quite a bit, and I get it. Especially I like clothes and makeup and going out to nice dinners. It's really hard to discipline yourself. And then a lot of these kids have student debt, which is crippling. Oh my goodness. And their earning capacity can change. Even if you have a high level PhD degree, if you're in philosophy, you may not be making a lot of money. Right?
Yeah.
And whereas if you go into finance, you can actually be starting to make good money right away.
Yeah. And this is just my personal story, but for me it was pretty significant, and it's one of the reasons I love being in finance. But when I received my first job in Manhattan after college, the manager of our sales desk threw an application on right in front of me, and he said, "You're going to become an owner today, and you're going to buy mutual funds every month." And he said, "You're going to start with $25 a month." It was, I thought it was a lot then, because I was trying to,
that was a lot. Then.
I was trying to move into Manhattan. I was trying to, pay off college debt. But I started with $25 a month, and it never went away. And I still invest every month. Now, it might be different buckets, whether it's a 401k or what have you. But I think that habit is critical.
I love it. I love it. Now, one of the other things that I saw some women, I think it was somebody from Citibank, high level women in finance, and they were saying get your kids early on used to getting involved in the stock market. Like set them up. One of them were saying for Christmas they'd gotten the kids Robinhood accounts, put in a couple $100, and like, okay, each of you is going to learn to think about stocks and start to invest and research and get to know what it is that interests you and see how it goes. Sometimes so good, not so good.
Well, you want your children to see the value go up and down, and I think with today's technology with apps, we used Busy Kid for a while, and that's how we paid our allowance. And you can invest through these apps, and you can see the values go up and down. Right now, my firm is custodied through Fidelity, so we have the Fidelity Youth app, and they can see their investments go up and down. And there are guardrails around, they might not be able to sell those investments when they see it go down. But I think for them to visualize that and understand over time that they do eventually go up when you're patient and you give it time, it's one of the most critical
brilliant
principles.
So Fidelity Youth app. So there's a few apps out there. Anybody who's tuning in right now, again, Trevor Crow, Trevor and Friends, on with Julina Ogilvie. We are talking about financial fitness starting in 20s to 40s. How do we get our kids, I'm sorry, they're not kids anymore, they're young adults. But even you're suggesting even at 16, you can start getting your daughter just got a job, start getting them involved and putting a little money aside here and there and get used to watching these investments grow and sometimes slide back. That's just life, right?
Absolutely.
And that's just so brilliant. Now, one of the things, and our executive producer, Lisa Hannick, has suggested that we discuss a little bit about, here we have our tax dollars at work, hearing our sirens go by. Financial fitness is especially important for girls. Your book has girls in the title. That's a lot of sirens.
That's a lot going on here.
Well, we are right next to the fire station, which is great. It's a beautiful fire station, by the way. So just again, because it feels like we're sliding back into this idea of traditional housewife, which seems to me like we're throwing ourselves back to the 50s, and there's some people who believe that maybe they should stay home and have a bunch of kids and their spouse will be supporting them. What do you have to say to those people who want to stay home like that? And are they going to be safe financially over time? Are they going to be able to retire because there's no retirement fund for a stay-at-home mom or dad?
Yeah, I struggled with this when I titled my book Money Confident Girls, and part of that was because I do have two girls, but I do also believe everyone needs financial empowerment. However, I do believe, and this is just from my observations of being in finance for 30 years, women still struggle with financial confidence. There are numbers of studies out there. They are not as confident as men in certain investing aspects. We still have a very high divorce rate in this country. Women, 90% of the time, have a probability of having to manage their own finance at some point in their life, whether it's divorce, whether it's the loss of a spouse. Women leave the workforce more often than men. They lose that 401k and they're home, and so they don't have as much prepared for retirement. And so that all of these challenges sort of bundled together make it, in my opinion, a reason that we really need to focus on women and financial empowerment.
I so believe this, and again, I do wish, actually, the president of Mexico, Scheinbaum, I think her name is, actually instituted Social Security or some kind of safety net for caregivers, stay-at-home moms, etc. And I believe we need this in this country because this is ridiculous. I've seen many friends of mine who brought their kids up in Fairfield County, were married 30 years, left the workforce, and their divorces do not support them to the end of their life. And it is a disaster. I have many friends who cannot live in the same towns as the ex and their own kids at a certain point. So the idea that this sort of quote unquote traditional situation would support you come hell or high water is just frankly a disaster. It doesn't work.
It's so difficult to watch women that all of a sudden need to be financially responsible, and really candidly didn't have that in the past, and now they're going through a major transition in their life, and all of a sudden they have to they have to decide how to manage the finances. It's very, very difficult and frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's tough. So everybody out there, get to know what's happening in your households. We are kind of focusing on 20 to 40-year-olds right now, and again, helping our young people get themselves set up in a secure, safe, good financial relationship with themselves and what their investments are, what their work is, and how to not overspend, right? How to put some money aside. And compounding, right?
Yes.
Again, I don't think most people understand it. So would you repeat that? If you start putting $500 in the bank at the age of 25,
$500 a month. This is just pure math. $500 a month from investing from age 25 to 65, earning 7% would give you 1.2 million about. If you wait 10 years and you start at age 35 until 65, same $500 a month, same return of investment of 7%. That value now is cut at least in half to 565,000.
Isn't that amazing?
This is why Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world.
The eighth, I didn't know that. That's very cool. All right, so in this sort of thought process, what are the best vehicles for these, again, 20 to 30-year-olds? I'm assuming in that time frame, there's a lot of life stages. There's a period of dating, maybe finding the person, maybe marrying them, maybe having children, maybe wanting to buy a home. So what do you suggest? What are the guardrails? What are the steps in that right direction? If that's what they want. Not everybody wants that.
No, absolutely. I mean, generally speaking, if you have access to a 401k, 403b, something through your employer, you want to try and maximize that, and that's earmarked towards your retirement. If you don't, you want to look at an individual or Roth IRA. Depending on your income level, and they're going to be taxed a little bit differently, but you want to start the retirement bucket as soon as possible. But then maybe you want to have other investments in a taxable account that you can pull money out of before you retire if you want to save money for a house, things like that. Now, how you invest in them are going to maybe a little different depending on the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And if certainly there are a number of financial advisors in the state of Connecticut that can help you with that as well.
I think it's really brilliant. Now, the other thing I see quite a bit, and I do actually have young couples, this makes me so delighted. They're coming in prior to marriage. They're wanting to unpack and figure out their communication, what's going well, what's not. And one of the areas that always is a sticking point is finances. Mm-hmm. And getting a young couple on the same page, that they're really discussing it, they're really being honest, because I have seen this is not healthy. One of them is like, oh, not your business.
Yes.
My bonus, none of your business. And like, well, you happen to be married, the two of you, it is your business. It's both of your business because this is community property. So what do you say to young couples starting to set up their financial lives together?
And I think one of the largest attributions of divorce is finance. And so I think having an open and honest conversation as early as possible is critical. And you may not agree on all the decisions, but I think having that, this is where you come in, Trevor, right? I mean, having this open discussion is absolutely key. I've seen a number of individuals that are approaching retirement or in retirement, and they're still arguing about the finances. I don't think it really ever goes away, but I think the discussion is important.
Yeah, and the way you discuss it is really important because it could be healthy or it could be not. Number one, couples that really last, their ability to repair any kind of conversation, any argument is the number one characteristic of successful couples, or those that stay together. So kind of back to financially confident girls, actually, again, everybody needs to know where the money is, what the liabilities are, right? What the spending is. You, again, back to your first thing you said, number one, find out what your budget is.
Absolutely.
And do it together as a team.
Yes.
And sometimes one of you is going to make more than the other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Plan for that. How do you suggest to deal with that?
Well, there's a number of apps that are out there that can help. I'm still a little old school and I still use a spreadsheet, but I think having the awareness and managing to it is critical, because if you don't do it at a young age, I am pretty confident that you don't do it when you're older, and then these small mistakes become larger and larger and larger, and that's how you find yourself in massive debt. And so, again, creating these habits very early on can be just critical and sort of
I love that.
The future of your finances.
Really set yourselves up, and especially as a couple and as a team, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. You can end up making much more, having greater assets, really building a life together, which includes these financial goals. And I say to these my clients, I'll send them to Julina, which is, I can help you decide, what's the important thing: retirement, kids' colleges, vacations, whatever it is, wants, needs, savings, and emergency fund. Which, thank you, you reminded me. Again, these conversations are so key for the next stage of life. So our young people have now graduated, they're now working, hopefully they've really started savings at least a little bit, and then they move into a serious relationship. And then once you start moving in together, buying homes together, you really need to be having these conversations as a team.
Yes. Yeah.
We have only a couple minutes left. How can people find you, Julina, if they have some questions?
Oh, sure. I have a personal website, julinaogilvie.net, for my book and my podcast, Women on Wealth. And then for more information, you can also go to principalwealthpartners.com, which is our firm's website that talks about our firm and what we do and how we do it for clients.
Fantastic. Lisa, you have a really quick question?
I just have a quick question, yeah. So if say young people have student debt or any kind of debt, how do they prioritize whether they pay off the debt or save and invest the money? Is there a formula for that, or how do you decide?
I wish I had a good formula for that. I think for my observations, it's been a very customized conversation. And so it depends on the amount of debt, right? And it depends on the time. I would say if there's concern around that, talk to a financial professional and see if they can help you with, because again, you don't want to not save for the future because you're so focused on the debt.
Right.
So it's finding that balance of how to tackle the two at the same time.
Great message. Okay, we're going to take a break, but just so everybody knows, Julina is going to be back in a month, and we're going to be talking 40s to 60s and how to prepare for that and have that set up. So thank you, Julina, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Awesome.